big trouble.
A little bit. Don't be afraid of it being in your face. You're good right there. Ready? 3, 2, 1. Welcome to Prime Properties. I'm Michael Morris. Lou is teaching a class today, so I had to find somebody who's a real estate expert and a good friend of the show. Lee Hart. Lee, how are you?
Doing well, thank you.
Lee, let's get it out of the way because everybody has to identify who they're with. You're Lee Hart with the Hart team, but who are you? Give me the whole spiel.
I am Lee Hart with HER Realtors and the Hart Family.
Now, you have a team that you work with, right? So we haven't really interviewed anybody who's kind of got like multiple agents.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to get your perspective on a few things. And I don't know if you've heard the show before, but the last couple of weeks we were talking about how hot the Columbus market is. And you're on the ground floor. So we're talking about on the radio, but what are you seeing out there in the market, your own experience?
Yeah, so I'm seeing, you're still out there looking. There's not a whole lot of listings out there. Just this past week, I had put a listing in Hilliard, and it was one of, I believe it was 13 other listings, under 250 within the Hilliard School District. So, that gives you a pretty good idea right there. I think Galloway, you're looking about the same numbers. So, yeah, there's a shortage of listings and a ton of buyers out there looking to buy.
One of the things we haven't had a chance to really get into, because I love statistics, so a lot of times when I'm reading the trades, I'm looking for the trends. And the trends, Columbus is so strange because we have more people moving. I believe it's over 60 people a day are coming to Columbus. And when you look at it, Lou and I always say this is an underhoused market. We're not really sure if that's a term, but we use it.
Mm-hmm.
There's not enough actual houses. There are places to live, there are apartments and condos, but not enough houses. So when inventory is low, the way it used to be, the 60s, 70s, 80s, is I'm buying by school district. When you're in a situation where inventory is low, are you seeing people that are willing to move into, like you mentioned, Galloway? They might want Grove City Schools or Arlington or Bexley, but there's no inventory, so they're moving. I don't have a choice. I've got to buy something now, so I'm willing to forego school system. Or are they still buying based on that? Like, what are the things they're looking for?
Yeah. There's a couple of different parameters that the clients that I typically work with are narrowing it down by. Probably one of the main ones is going to be school district. Then following that's going to be price range, and they really kind of narrow it down by what payment they want to be in. And sometimes that just naturally narrows it down to a certain school district. So a lot of times, sometimes there is some give. They're like, well, you know what, if it's going to be this hard to get into this school district, we would be fine going to this one. So that's kind of what I'm seeing.
It's weird to me because I am seeing more, when you're looking at it, it's not like it used to be, obviously, because the market's really hot. But it seems to be price is not the objection anymore. Because no matter where you go, even if you could sell your house at 200, say your house was valued at, 18 months ago at 180 and you sell for 200, awesome. But if you get that 200, the house you're going to move into that's comparable or maybe a little bigger is 220 to 230. So there's still not enough movement that I can get it. There's no deals, right?
Right. That's the hard part too, is you look so hard, you try to find a deal, but it seems like any, quote unquote deal that you would find, there's going to be multiple offers. There's going to be cash buyers for that. And it's tough to find a deal in this market, and you really have to end up trying to find something off market to really get a deal.
Well, it's going to be tough for you because you have buyers that want to get in, but it's almost like a train. Like, this thing's leaving, and you better get on right now. How are you finding properties for people and kind of placing them? Are you still? One of the things I'm curious about is when we have realtors on, no matter what you do, you have a certain bias, right? So you're looking at a house, not so much that you're going to buy it, but you have something in mind for somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
Taking out price as the objection, what are you seeing that you're having to do for people now? Is it more like you're advising them more like, this has a roof issue, this has a basement issue or foundation, or is it more, this is in your price range, and we're going to go with that? Because people seem to be willing to forego the home inspection now and take their chance on it if, that house is in their ballpark. If it's not, it seems to be they're all stuck on, I want to be in this neighborhood, right?
Right.
Are you still seeing that?
Yeah, they may want to be in the neighborhood. Foregoing the home inspection, I never, ever recommend that. That just seems like a dangerous road to go down. I always suggest and advise keep your home inspection in there. Maybe we don't ask for any remedies. Maybe we shorten up the inspection period just so we can get to the closing table quicker. Those are some items that help get the deal done, seeing that it's going to be a quicker time frame to get to the closing. They know we're not going to ask for a bunch of remedy requests or repairs. And sometimes going over the list price and offering money over the appraisal, that ultimately ends up getting it done too. But I do see, and I've seen more than ever, people are foregoing their home inspection, and that scares me just to think about.
Well, my question about if you're going to forego the home inspection, that's literally the last kind of get out of jail free, right? If I'm going to let go of that because I want to close it faster, if you're already in that process, you don't need to skip it. There's no reason. Unless you feel this emotion that this is my dream house, I've got to have it, right? But even at that case, you should still do the home inspection and know what you're getting into.
Right. And yeah, the inspection, it's never used as something to just get out of the deal, but you do have some comfort knowing that you're having all your boxes checked, you're inspecting everything, and if something does come back to where you find out, wow, this might be too tall of a task to take on, that gives you the option to renegotiate new terms or ultimately end up moving on. But not having your inspection, there's some big items in there that may not be uncovered.
Well, I'd like to ask you about that because I've had a couple of realtors come on and when Lou Willard, he is the home inspection guy.
Okay.
But he's willing to not overlook it. He wants to let you know what's wrong with it, right? So if there's a foundation or a potential water damage issue, he's not saying walk away from that if you could remedy it. But when I ask a realtor, they never say the thing that they'd they recommend walking away from. What are the things that you would walk away from? Because don't you kind of have to put yourself in the buyer's shoes and say, if this was my house, I would not buy this based on X. Are you still giving your input at that point, or do you have to step away?
So if there's matters on the inspection that I know are a major concern to the buyer, then I always recommend, if this is something that is a huge concern to you, let's bring it up. Let's see what we can get worked out. I do advise, I say, hey, look, if this were me in your situation, everybody's situation is different. I know that, but I know there's a top end price I would ask. I know there's certain things that I would worry about, and I kind of advise based on that because we're seeing these things often. We know what's an easy fix, what could be taken care of pretty easy, maybe even after closing. But yeah, I always do kind of put myself into the buyer's position, into their shoes, and say, hey, look, this is an issue that I wouldn't feel comfortable with. Take that for what it is. You may be in a different position than I am, but I always try to be as full transparent as I can be.
Well, I see that I go to this meeting on Wednesday mornings. There's a couple of realtors that are in it, and their biggest gripe is the person wants to sell their own house because they want to save the commission. And they keep bringing up the fact that you need a professional in there to help you, right? To go through not just home inspections, not just looking at a roof or what the property should be, but that commission is there for a reason because you guys are pros and you know what you're looking for, right? How do you how do you persuade somebody who wants to sell their own home to work with you? Because again, if it comes down, I don't want to pay the commission. Do you see that as a big mistake, trying to sell your own home?
Well, I mean, in this hot of a market, we're seeing more for sale by owners selling on their own, and that's great. You know, if saving that commission is that big of a deal to them, then you know, go for it. You know, that's a good thing that you're accomplishing that goal. But statistics have shown that when you're working with a professional versus just going on your own, you end up earning enough to make up for that commission that you're paying, if not a little bit more. For sale by owners typically end up selling for a little bit less than what they could have if they were to hire a professional to do the job.
I haven't seen a study on that, but it seems to be in that case, if you don't know what the market will bring, and you're going off of what, you know, these appraisals have been over 2 or 3 years, you might not understand that a lot of times Zillow is our favorite thing to bring up because we like the
Oh,
passion.
yeah.
If you look at Zillow, your property could be 191 on Zillow, but your market, your neighborhood could be bringing 201 to 213. But someone's going to go off that Zillow and say this is what it's worth. Well,
Right.
you're negotiating on that number, not what the market will bring. That's where you would know that, right? As an agent, you would know what it's really going for. You have all the tools and the resources, right?
Right. And there's times that I have seen for sale by owners listed, and they're listed under market value. They may not be under contract just due to the fact that they are not getting the exposure that they could be when working with a professional. That's another big thing, is we make sure that they're getting maximum exposure of this home, just so you know you can bring as many buyers in and ultimately end up bringing hopefully multiple offers. But another thing, you know, like professionals, we know how to navigate this market, especially when you have multiple offers, how to present the multiple offers, what we should move forward with, what we should counter, and what different terms we should keep in a contract to earn maximum dollar.
You said exposure. When you say exposure, a lot of people say it's the, you know, if you go back a decade, it would be shopping carts. You know, call me and there'd be a picture of one home on there. With the expansion of technology, you can look at homes on Instagram, Facebook, sometimes even LinkedIn. When you say exposure, how do you get exposure for those houses?
So I mean, there's multiple different ways. We work in offices with anywhere from 30 to 50 other agents, even sometimes more. We typically have a network of contacts that we know, contractors, individuals that know people looking for homes. We have a database of past clients. We have a database of current clients and even future clients, as well as some of the other marketing techniques that we may use, being
I feel like you're saying marketing techniques and you're not going to say, okay, direct mail marketing.
Yeah. Can't give away all the secrets now, but yeah, direct mail marketing, Facebook, just a way that you can, Facebook ads can be kind of confusing at times, on a way to how to narrow it down, how to make sure you're getting the most reach on the ad, but to make sure people know of an open house coming up, when they can come see the home, how they can come see it. So yeah, I mean, there's.
I don't mean to cut you off, but don't you find that Facebook ad situation to be? It's kind of like when you go to Google. If I Google whatever would be hormone replacement therapy, there'll be those 3 paid ads at the top, and it's, you know, not to click on those, right? Because you know they're being paid for, and you know the person on the other end has to pay for the ad and then pay if you're looking at it. When I'm looking at these Facebook ads, especially for whether it's a real estate group or an individual realtor, when they're posting it themselves, I think they get so much more out of it because their personalities in it, right? But I'm seeing fewer and fewer agents that are actually in a video, like doing like a walkthrough, like a virtual tour or something. Those are things I would look at more as a consumer, but also if I was going to sell my house, I would want someone to do that. Well, maybe not my house, but I would want somebody to walk through my house to show the different rooms and all that. I think as a realtor, there's so many more tools that you can use that are not just database driven or zip code driven. It is, you can actually see this house and you can see the person that can show me.
Yeah, and a lot of people, they're much more likely to watch a video than to read this big long status
Right.
about a home, about the features of the home, or click a link rather than read through all these, descriptions. So, no, video is proving to be a really good resource and way to kind of expose it. And, you bring up a good point about the walkthrough. That's always a great idea, great technique. Really gets people interested and drawn into the home.
Well, I think we're in the infancy of people really using that tool because, again, the outside of a home, the front of a home is in any picture should be the best picture. That should be your senior picture, your glamour shot, right?
Mm-hmm.
What's inside it could be a horror show. But if I can show you the outside, right, the nice aesthetic look, the lawn is kept, the bushes and the roses look great. But if I could see the bathroom, because I feel like that's one, and we're going to get to this, but when you look at a bathroom or a kitchen, that can be the thing that is the deciding factor. If that bathroom or that kitchen has one of those big islands and it's connected to a wall and you just look at it and like, I don't really want to do that. So my first thought, you start thinking about what you take out, right?
Yeah.
Not what I would enjoy, but I'm going to take that out and make it an island, or I'm going to take it all together out of the way. That's the thing a video would show me, so I know I don't need to go to that property because I don't really like the layout of that.
Yeah.
But again, I think we're in a spot where I feel like you're going to do this now. I feel like I gave you a great tip. You should use this.
I've done video walkthroughs before.
Yeah, everybody always says that after I give a great idea, Lee.
I'll pull it up for you.
But now you're going to prove my point.
Right.
But again, if I'm looking, kitchens and bathrooms always seem to be the biggest thing. That was before bedrooms, whether you have kids or not. Because you always look at it and go, we got 3 kids, we'll just put them in that one room. But these bathrooms better be really nice.
Right.
Is that still a focal point when people are coming in? Are they still looking at the kitchen and saying, I've got to remodel it, or I'm good with what this is?
Yeah, I've found a lot of times that your kitchen and your bathrooms, those are major selling points of a home. Your kitchen, living room space, backyard, but no, definitely those are aspects that people are looking at, kind of tailoring it to what they would do with it, or if they would keep it the same, if they love it. No, but you're definitely right on that.
Somebody that's selling when in this market, I know that you could sell it without making a lot of changes, and we have a remodeling show that we do. So we've talked to all these remodelers, and they do these fantastic kitchen projects or bathroom projects. Well, in the past, when you did those, and let's just even go back 3-4 years ago, if you put in a $20,000 kitchen remodel, it might bring you another $5,000 or $6,000. If you do nothing at this point, there's homes in Hilliard that I know are going for $20,000 over the original asking price or the valuation. Do you recommend people putting that kind of money into kitchen and bath, or leave it where it's at and let the next person do it the way they want?
So if it's something that is absolutely going to come up later in the transaction process, being carpet, flooring, maybe it's peeling paint, it's the things that are going to be taken care of regardless. But you gotta know that sometimes when you put all this money, if you replace a kitchen, like you said, put $20,000 into a kitchen, might bring you $5,000 or $6,000 or whatever your example was. It does not always earn you back every penny. And
Well,
that's
you're also
the most
putting your own
important part.
personality, your own spin on it, right? So
Right,
somebody may
right.
not want a double sink,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
You put the money in because you're going to stay there, and then all of a sudden, 18 months later, you're leaving. Somebody else might hate the fact that there's 2 sinks I got to clean.
Yeah.
Well, the same thing with when I had a home in New Albany, I forget what it's called. It's almost like a wash basin type of sink. So instead of having a regular sink, that was fine. It was to have this fancy bathroom
Yeah.
sink that you're constantly banging your watch on when you're trying to put your hands in it, right? And I remember at the time, my wife was saying at the time also, was saying this is what she wanted. And I thought, this makes no sense because our daughter at the time was like 8 months old. She's never going to be able to wash her hands in unless I kind of, gave her that baptism, just kind of dump her in the thing.
Yeah.
But somebody else would come in that house and I guarantee you they'd say, that's not a functional sink. But that is your own personality, your own touch that you like, right?
Right.
And there's nothing against it if you're going to stay. But that would be a major decision for me is I've got to tear that thing up and that's going to cost me $4,000 to $6,000 to put in something completely new.
Yeah, yeah, and just the most important part of it is just knowing, or at least having the expectations that, hey, if this does not earn me back every dollar during the sale process, that's to be expected, or that's okay. That's not gonna, ruin your day or whatever. Just because that's typically what you see. Sometimes, I mean, I don't know. It's a crazy market. You see some people come in and they may be fine paying all this extra money because the kitchen fits perfect. But again, it is your own personality. Someone may not like the look of it, the style of it. They may
Just the
not
feel
like
of the
the
room.
sink of it.
Sometimes the dimensions of a room will throw you off. Everything else can
Yeah.
be perfect, but it's more long than it is wide, and it's kind of like I remember having one of those bathrooms in the house that I bought, the first house I ever bought, and I was like, I can't say it. It's almost like you were like in an airplane toilet type of thing, And it's like, who built this house this way?
Yeah.
And I understand you wanted to cheat it so you can get your 2.5 bathrooms, but this was probably the wrong way to do it. This should have been like a shoe closet. When you're talking to people now that are you dealing with a lot of the younger crowd, the millennial crowd? Because what we're seeing is 36% of the new home buyers are millennials.
Mm-hmm.
Are you seeing that a lot? Or are you dealing with the older set now?
Probably a lot of millennials. I'm dealing with a lot of first-time home buyers, which I love doing. It's an exciting process. It's a new process. I would think the majority of my clientele right now is probably the millennial crowd.
When you're dealing with them, this is my impression. Again, this is just from reading journals and articles and talking to people like yourself. To me, it looks like they're more educated about what they're going to do than, I'm over 40 years old. So our thing was get a house, white picket fence, good school system.
Mm-hmm.
It seems like these people that crowd seems to be more, I know what I can afford, I know where I'm going to be, and I know I'm going to move in a 2 to 3 year period. They're changing houses like they're changing jobs, which I don't think is a negative, but it seems like they're smarter about it. Like the home is more of an investment to get to the next step. Are you seeing that, or is that just all things in U.S. News and World Report and it's a lie?
I'm seeing that a little bit. Not.
Well, they're not in the city. If you're seeing new home buyers, they haven't done it yet, but they haven't moved to the second house.
Right.
But it seems like they're more savvy about what they're looking for.
Yes.
In the beginning than we were. My favorite part was going and touring all these homes to see what a disaster some of these things were, and just going, I would never do this to my house. Like it was more fun and educational. But I don't know if it seems like now you're not taking that tour of disaster just for fun. You've got to find something quickly, and you've got to get into a negotiation if you want to get a house, for September when school starts. You've got to make moves now during the summer.
Yeah. They typically have a pretty dialed in time frame, payment range, and then a general area that they want to be in, with some exceptions, knowing, hey, if the perfect thing comes up in this area, we're fine with this. But they do seem a little bit more calculated, and a lot of them come in knowing exactly what they want to do, when they want to do it, why and where. And then, on the other hand, there's more that need that guidance, and, you're providing that guidance for everybody. But
But do you like that part of it? Because you get to pass on the education of it. Whereas I think there are a lot of other people out there that when you see that, what I would call it is churning and burning. Like, I just want more people to buy more houses. The real estate people that I see that are really successful are the ones that have built a relationship, and it's more about the person that bought the home, and it's you guys went through. You went through an experience. It's kind of like you all had a kid together.
Right.
What I can't stand is when I see somebody, I just sold this house for $400 million. That person has got their face, almost like when you win the lottery. Like, I did this by myself.
Right.
You represented somebody and helped them get there. You Jerry Maguired your way into this, but it's really about setting somebody in a home that they're going to raise a family, right?
Right. And that relationship part is one of my favorite parts about the business, if not the top best part, just because you ultimately end up becoming friends with these people. You find each other on Facebook, you see pictures of them in their home, building their family. living their life and know that you had a big part to play in that. And
That's
where
the
they
part that I would
landed.
think was cool, because if
Yeah.
you're gonna drive by a house where you put a family in that, or maybe they didn't have kids at the time, but you're getting to see the growth of them as a group. I mean,
Right.
you had something to do with that. That's
Yeah.
gotta feel good.
Oh, it does. It does. You see their family growing. So, you know, they'll post updates of different things they're doing to the home. So it's always pretty cool knowing, hey, you know, I helped them get there a couple years back. They're building a family. They've got a couple kids now. So yeah, that's definitely one of the top favorite parts of the business.
Well, you'll never forget the person who gives you your first key.
That's right.
Right, in life, that's a moment you'll never forget, and you'll never forget who gave it to you and said it's on your own.
Mm-hmm.
Right, so that's got to be a real feel good for you.
Yes.
We've run out of time. This has been fantastic, but I appreciate you coming. Can you
Yeah.
tell people if they want to get a hold of you, go ahead and do what you did to me off the air?
Yeah,
It's the
yep.
spelling of Hart.
So this is Lee Hart with HER Realtors and the Hart Family. You can call or text me at 614-738-0526.
And that's H-A-R-T.
H-A-R-T.
Yeah, I only had to ask you 4 times. Lee, thank you so much for coming on. That's going to do it for this week, and we will see you next weekend on Prime Properties.